And how's it going this evening? Hey, I see show up your interface brief on the chat. Good to see, man. Um, tonight's vlog, I'm actually going to start out with a topic that was suggested in today's newsletter. There was a hello, good evening, Mark Milo. Yeah, there was a Cisco champion newsletter that came out today, and they said, why don't you do? I think we can enter to win like a front row seat at the at Cisco Live. But Cisco Live's coming up. Everybody's getting excited. And one thing I thought about last year, of course, was who are the Cisco engineers I'd like to meet. And I got to meet a lot of them, but there's some that I did not that I have not met in person yet that I really want to. Hey, Colonel Panic. Good evening. Um, but this year I definitely know who, because I missed this person last year, and I definitely would like to meet them this year because I really like their content. But let me name who it is. For me this year, it's Denise Fishburne. So I've not met her yet, and I really, really admire some of the content that she has put out. I say admire because while there is, yes, technical content, in particular certain subjects, one multicast article really helped me out on her site, Networking with Fish. But not only that, but an interview she had earlier this year, and it was really good. And not just that interview, but other interviews I've seen of her by others in the community, where she talks about her kind of where she is in her career and kind of her story. And she has such candor and experience and wisdom. I think above all else, I really appreciate the wisdom that she exudes, because this community, our networking community, it's not just about being gearheads, but guidance along the way, mentorship. And she has certainly been a mentor, remote mentor to me in a lot of ways. And when I look, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I'm well along in my career, and I really admire her candor about things she's talked about, and some of the struggles that she has had, and some of the joys she has had being part of this community. And I have shared some of those same things, and I just appreciate her content. So I really want she's on my snipe list for sure at this next Cisco Live, along with several others. But if I had to name one, that would be the person I want to meet. So, yeah, I've covered that topic. It's an exciting topic, trust me. That's one of the things I think about. And when I'm there at the event and I see certain people, um, you know, it's one of the things I really am going to look forward to this second year, this second time around, is just the people, of course. And yeah, there's several others I could name. I have them a list in my head. These are people that I definitely this time around do not want to miss out on, shaking hands with, and getting to know them in person. But Denise right now is at the top of the list, so consider yourself warned, Denise. I'm going to hunt you down. Let's go live. The other thing too, like last year, I was just getting into multicast for the first time ever in my career, from a study perspective. And so she does a Cisco Live, a session on multicast. And this year I'm ready for it. I'm eager for all multicast content. So I if anything else, I will be there harassing her at her Cisco Live session to meet her in person before or after. So anyway, that is that. Thanks everyone for the chats. Great to see everyone tonight. Colonel Panicopal as well. I had a Cisco Live session with her years ago about troubleshooting. She's great in person. Yeah, I've heard the same and really look forward. I think I'm going to be attending that same session. I've actually watched it early on in my sort of multicast beginnings, but now that I've sort of covered it more in depth and labbed PIM, both V4 and V6, I'm really a lot more prepared, hopefully, for that session, and have not watched it again just because I want to kind of save that experience for Cisco Live. But yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, and how are things going? Well, things are going great today. I did get to do review yesterday's lab this morning, so I went over all the notes. Makes more sense based on what I've read. I've also covered. I've made a dent in the flashcards. I was going over that just prior to the stream, and created a few as well. But I hope to have time, a little bit of time here to knock out this exec authorization lab. I started it this morning, just couldn't finish it. Work has been very intense today. I don't have a link here for Meat Chunk, but interesting announcement today. One of my teammates at my job is at Microsoft Build, where they announced that they're going to be releasing Microsoft. You know, the rivalry of Microsoft and Linux is pretty much over for the most part. They have announced that Windows subsystem for Linux, WSL version 2, is going to feature the full Linux kernel, which is cool. To be honest, I sort of thought, well, I guess I knew it wasn't a full kernel version 1 because I use it every day on my Windows computer for work. And a pretty exciting announcement that, you know, I guess whatever's left for them to do in terms of the virtualization of it, they're going to have that full kernel running, which is cool. I love what they're doing, and you see it in Azure too, folks. I mean, the support that I've seen in Azure for Linux VMs, traditional Linux VMs, and also with the Azure Bash features, they're right there on par for the most part with like PowerShell. What you can do with PowerShell. So a lot of what you can do with PowerShell, you do with Bash now in Azure. So it's really cool, which is near and dear to my heart. So those are exciting times, exciting announcements today, and I'm looking forward to next week when my coworker comes back. He created like a special chat channel where he's been kind of feeding us little announcements and tidbits, and he's been some of the issue or discussion points we've been having, architectural things that have come up. He's been tagging, hunting down like engineers there at Microsoft Build, so that's been cool. Anyway, so let's do a little bit of lab, shall we? AA exec authorization. I don't have the lab started. Let me do that real quick. We're just going to run. I think we only really need one router running for this. And this is about, let me pull up the requirements. By the way, standard disclaimer, these are not my labs. I don't show, this is from the INE workbook, which I do not show on the screen. If you want to do these labs yourself, if you want to see the answer keys, the screenshots, the explanation, the full requirements, etc., go to INE.com and you can purchase the Routing and Switching V5 Advanced Technology Lab Workbook. This is the security section, and essentially the requirements for this. We're also today using the TACX Plus server 151.46.100, and we're going to encrypt with the key of Cisco. They have a monthly option now as well, Mark Milo. That's interesting. So does that include the workbook, though? I know that... uh-oh, battery getting low. Good luck, show. Good to see you here, buddy. So yeah, they have the all access pass, right? Yeah, catch you later, show. So they have an all access pass, but I believe that gets you the video content. Yeah, so I don't think that gets you the workbook. I could be wrong. They may have changed that, but previously that did not include. But I've never had the all access pass. I purchased the workbook outright. I think you could purchase it for $300. That's retail price before any deals. So I purchased a package which included the workbooks and the video library, and allows me to download. I was able to download like all the videos for my package, which I have on my hard drive and synced with sync.com now in the cloud, just in case. CVT Nuggets lowered their prices recently, really. Didn't know that, Colonel Panic. Mark Milo. I bought the yearly package, but the monthly appears to be the full AAP, All Access Pass. Yeah. So yeah, we've got, we're going to encrypt our communication with the TACAX Plus server. Should be sourced from loopback 0 interface. Makes sense. And we're going to configure, so we're going to do VTY authentication. VTY lines will be local. Some of this is just a bit of a repeat from yesterday's lab. User admin, password, Cisco. Privilege level 7. So that's different, right? I think yesterday's was privilege level 15, which is a default. Exec privilege levels using TACAX. So we're going to have some. Okay, if TACAX is unavailable, BTY users get privilege level 15. That's interesting. I've never configured anything like that before. Okay, so if TACAX is unavailable, BTY users will get privilege level 15, and they'll authenticate using VTY line setting. So they'll have a password. Okay. So TACAX server, yeah, let's pull up a router here. I'd imagine if a fallback measure, just like when you fall back to the local database. Yes, indeed. And it could be that that makes sense. I mean, people who would not normally have that kind of access. If you've got a problem contacting your TACAX server, you might need you might have somebody on the phone who has exec privileges only, and you need them to have elevated access because they might have to make a change to resolve the issue, right? Now, I have seen, this was not equipment that I configured, but I have seen, I was in a situation, bad situation, late night. I was on site. That's the only redeeming thing about it. I was doing a project, but some changes were made on some switches, and the TACAX server was unavailable, and no fallback authentication method was configured for anything, for console, for line. That was such a pain to get myself out of, which I did. Fortunately, I made cabling changes, and like getting access to the TACAX server without finishing my project was going to be very challenging. So, you know, I had to do a recovery. I had to do a ROM-on recovery basically on the switches, and you know, holding the thing, and oh, what a pain. So yeah, fallback is very important for sure. So this is AAA. I'm gonna pull up the same lab I think that we had yesterday. Well, you know, I don't know if I made any changes to that. Let's see. Yeah, we can just use this one. So we're gonna boot up router 1. I wonder, I've looked at the wrong router maybe. Okay. Yeah, it is set to sort of the defaults for this particular topology. So now it does not say a group here. It will use a TACAX plus server. So I like the group approach though. I think that's where what you're going to see in most cases, right? Plus, we found out yesterday that the INE lab workbook is not current with. I mean, it doesn't match. The feature set does not match what I'm using. So. Okay, so router's up. We're gonna sort of leverage the parser here a little bit. So we're gonna say a new model, a authentic. Let's see, is it server? Is it group? A group? Yeah, server. TACAX, and we're going to call it home. And we're going to say IP is, or server 151.146.100. And I think the interface, yeah, that command is just going to be TACAX. TACAX server. We could do it here as well. Home 2. Okay, interesting. Address. Let's see, warning address not yet configured. Why is that? TACAX space server address IPv4. Enter. Key Cisco. Why would that not be configured? Well, never mind that. We have AAA server, a group server, TACAX home, and server 5146.100. Where do we put the key? Oh, server, okay. Server is not defined. Going right to the answer key here. Server, now AAA TechX server, home 2. Key, Cisco, address, IPv4, address not yet configured. Oh, because it has the same? So I can't configure an individual server and a group. No, a group server TechX. Even though they have different names, that's highly annoying. Address 151.46.100. IPv4. Key, Cisco. The parser logic around AA is, geez Louise. Okay, so this is going to be source interface, IP, right? TACAX, source interface, L0. And we're going to go ahead and do our username, admin, password, Cisco. Mark Milo, plus it varies per iOS version. Found out the hard way. Yeah, I found out the hard way yesterday as well. When the workbook is saying one thing, and the command does not exist in this version. Cisco username, admin, privilege 7. Okay, we're going to use that for our AA authentication line. We're going to have a line for that. Okay, so AA authentication. Pass CCENT today. Lantern reception up to you. Oh man, look out. Reckless interface. Oh man, that is great news. Congratulations. I know you feel good about passing that exam. Here's some good bits for you, my friend. That is awesome. I hope you do catch up to me, man. I'm taking my time. Yeah, that is excellent. Wow, 913 out of 832. You nailed that exam. So do you have one more I forget, like when I took the CCNA, I took the one single exam. But I know a lot of people take the 2 exams. Is that your first? Is the ENT the first one? ICND2. Then, oh, okay, that's how that works. All right. Good. So you are halfway there, my friend. That is great. 18 months to prepare. Is that how that? Okay, that's kind of like how the CCI written and the lab is. You have 18 months to attempt your lab. Okay, this is going to be login. We're going to call it TTY. And yeah, exactly 18 months. So I took mine February, March, April, May, June. May, yeah. So 4 months ago, or is it 5? Forget, but yeah. I'm gunning right now. Look, it's looking more like November will be my first attempt. Thanks to QoS. I was hoping to do September, but all right. So this is going to be we're going to use will they possibly change CCI at live or just a lower certs? I'm not sure. They announced a new program manager for the CCI routing and switching program. Is Peter Pollock. So I don't know. I imagine he'll want to put his own imprint on the program. Group TACAX. Okay, so the first we're going to do our TTY lines. You're going to have to log in via TACAX Plus first. Then we're going to do a line password as the failover. Oh, and so how do we give exec users a privilege level 15 on this authentication list? So we need to do AAA authentication login. Say failover. I'm not sure on that. Use the V2I to authorize any authenticated users. Okay, I know how to do that part. No, I'm looking for let's see. Let's go to line VTY 015. And we're going to say privilege level 15. I think that will do it. So in other words, they'll use the line settings. If the TACAX service fails, which if it doesn't, they have privilege level 7. But if the TACAX server fails, they'll use the line settings to log in. And the line settings will be privilege level 15. Yes, there you go, Crisco. We have the same line of thought. Exactly. And this is, so as long as you log in with TACAX, you won't, even though privilege level 15 is set for the lines, you won't use it. The TACAX setting overrides. But if that fails, then it should use this, I'm assuming. Yes, you're right. I did. I was getting to that. Yeah, you're exactly right. Line B2Y 015. I do have to set a password here because, and they're telling me to use. Use a V2 to authorize any authenticated users if TACX Plus server fails. Well, you have to authenticate them somehow to the line. So you'd have to do you have to set a password, and then you have to do login, right? Yeah, login enables password checking. No, we don't want to use create a username admin with password of Cisco local database with privilege level 7. Authorize exec privilege levels using remote TACAX server. Ensure that if the TACAX server is unavailable, authenticated users logging in via TTY lines are placed in privilege level 15. Use the VTY line settings to authorize any authenticated users. So maybe it is just the password. We'll do Cisco, lowercase. Line, use the line password. Before you can use the authentication method, you must define a line password. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I even have to do login here. Yeah, so as far as testing this, let's boot up router 2. And let's see how we did. I know people out there enjoy this stuff, but this to me is like putting your cut hands in rubbing alcohol. But we're going to get through it. Raging goes, yeah, I'm usually just waking up as you're finishing. I get to see something. Hey, how's it going? Well, some parts are not very exciting. So Drew. Yeah, good to see you, Raging Gosu. Glad you're able to make the live stream today. And yeah, this is not my favorite subject. Show IP interface. Let's see if our interfaces are up. Yeah, so, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, Azure PV6 is running. So what should happen here is there is no TACAX server running. So that should fail. Let's see, show IP interface. Hey, it's not fun, but important to understand a voice. It's so true. It is important to understand. You get a kind of a configuration set, and then you template it, and you kind of go with that, right? So let's do telnet. Oh, why did I do router 2? I don't think these are even connected. Yeah, they're not directly quote unquote connected. Router 1 and router 6 are. So let's do router 6. Based on the configuration example, they do add login authentication. You're talking about on the VTY lines? Could be. Very well could be. We're going to find out. We're going to look, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time, and we're going to look at the workbook answers. I can tell you that. Okay, yeah, I think I've seen that in production too. Yeah, we need to call the A policy we added. So that is a show run section AA. Yeah, we haven't done that yet, have we? That's true. We created the authentication with the list. So line VTY 015, login, authentication, TTY. Yeah. So that enables password checking, right? All right, let's see. If we use default policy, correct. We may have if we end up using only a single policy here, then we didn't really need to create a new one. In a real world scenario, you would probably create a new list, right? And you probably wouldn't mess with the default. Depends. All right, show ping 5.1.1.4.6.1. Okay, good. We have ping. So now let's telnet. I don't know if telnet is turned on. Yeah. Let's see. Line VTY 015. Telnet. Let's see. What is it? Protocol. Transport. Telnet. Input. Telnet. Trying, do I need to do output to transport output telnet? There we go. Password verification. Okay, so it looks like it went right away to password authentication. It did not prompt for our username because it cannot reach the TACAC server. In fact, if we do debug AAA authentication, debug AAA, leave it at that. Okay, and let's go again. Okay, get password. And we're in. Okay, cool. So that worked. Now, how can I view my privilege level? But I can see that being an exam gotcha. That's true. If they say VTY lines, very true, Cisco. Yeah, this is ripe. This area is I think they secretly like they love to get on some of these technicalities with the in the whole security area. It's ripe for tripping up candidates. Pick method list TTY get password pass. Okay, good. And we are logged in. So let's try to change something. Let's do show IP interface brief. Let's do interface yeah 00 no shut. Okay, yeah, so I'm able to make changes now. Privilege level 7, I'm assuming is exec. Mark Milo, realistically speaking, how often would you be setting this up at work? So easy area not to get plenty of practice in. Yeah, so you set up your routers and then you leave them. But it does become important when you have an issue getting to your router. Like Crisco said, I've been there, done that. It's no fun. So it's helpful to at least be able to pull some knowledge from memory. Show privilege or similar to see. Okay, thank you, Crisco. Awesome. Show privilege. It is 15. Good. Yeah, that's when you remember you should have worked on a more Mark Milo. That's when you're like, darn it, why was I so triggered by learning by all those commands with AA? I should have spent more time on that. It's so true. That's when you curse yourself for not being thorough. Okay, so it looks like that part worked. Did we see where it actually failed, TACAX? Okay, we did. Bind, I'm assuming that's it. Take Ambino A all day if you're doing ice. Yeah, right? We've got people that like are specialists in that, our team, right? They're they do the ice, and yeah, they're probably very familiar with the old AA stuff. All right, so let's check our answer in the workbook and see how we did here. Okay, it looks good. Also VTY. Okay, there's something different here. Okay, so I have no idea what this means, but we're gonna look it up. So there's another authentication list here called exec, I think. Authentication. This command does not exist. The command in the workbook is no more. Oh no, sorry. This is on me. Authorization. I thought we were in a similar situation. Yeah, so it's authorization exec. This is your authorization levels. Yeah. When you look at those two words, one below the other, it doesn't stand out right away. It used the same line. Okay, it's the same line, VTY. And what are options here? Use cache group, use server group. Group. Oh, okay. So you do the authentication. Then what is our authorization based on our authentication, right? So this is saying we have a new, for this line, it's authorized for exec. If authenticated via group TACAX, right? So it did not have me change the privilege level of the user at all. No, it did. It did. Sorry, privilege 7. Yeah. So authorization exec, VTY group TACAX, and then it says if authenticated. Okay, I have no idea what any of that means. So I'm going to have to read up on the answer key here. Yeah, authorization is procedure for granting certain rights to a process. And it's only possible for authenticated entities. Authentication always precedes authorization, correct, in some cases. Okay, it has different scenarios here, so that's cool. Yeah, if authenticate is self-explanatory. If you authenticate, you are authorized. Yeah, just at what level, right? So what else does it have here? Okay, so on the line, they're still doing 0.4. I don't know why it does that. Show VTY. Yeah, I've always done this. This says line VTY 0.4. I've always done 15. But it says authorization exec VTY. Then login authentication VTY. But I mean, we already configured that. Login authentication default. That is not what the lab answer says. So if we do, or bruh, how's it going, my fellow Floridian? Hope you're doing well. Love the weather today. This is router 1. So we had this configured before. Oh, it said, yeah, login, show run line VTY, show run section VTY. Okay, it also does not have a password on the lines. Line VTY 015, no password, Cisco. Login authentication VTY is already there. What is it, because I tried to type it again? Oh, login authentication. Oh, line VTY 015, excuse me. Login authentication VTY. This parser, man, is killing me in the security section. Why did you already let me enter it then? Why don't you just say you're already using this line, silly? Okay, it let me do a no and take it out, but now it won't let me add it back. Yes, I'm trying to call a list that I defined. So this is like verbatim from the workbook. That is verbatim from the workbook. Just long enough, some of the parse stuff is going to get me all over again. Tell me about it, man. Show run section AAA. Hey, we got a new follower. Thank you very much for that follow. Appreciate it. That was Playboy Cardi. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Landhammer stream. Oh, did I do a typo? VTY. Thank you so much. That is on me. That is totally on me. So I've got them, I'm mixing them up, right? Let's see what it has in the... It's all VTY here. Okay. Login, authentication. All right. Show run section AA. Good catch, folks. Thank you. I can't. No. This is the kind of stuff will get you an exam too. Because you think TTY lines, VTY lines. Oh my gosh. All right. Line VTY 015. And we're going to do authorization exec VTY. Login authentication VTY. Can't imagine what type of nightmare this can be on exam, working with prefix lists and route maps. Copy paste, probably your best friend. Yeah, good eye, Tech G. Tech Gambino caught it, man. This is my life. Like, so often I do juxtapose a character somewhere, and they're so close. All right, show run section AAA. I think we're good now. Okay, so this is the difference, right? This your authentication. I'm not getting what the if authenticated part is. How is that adding anything to the equation? Basically, how could I get these exact privileges if I was not authenticated? What could I do if I was not authenticated? A, authorization exec default group TACX plus if authenticated. This is the same as before. Now, in the case where the router cannot communicate with TACX server, the router will authenticate the user, and then the router will say that the user is authorized. Well, I think the authentication and authorization happens once, right? And I don't know what there's a timer on that. So at some point it will want to re-authenticate you. But I don't really see a plausible scenario where you just authenticated with a TACAX server, and now the router is parsing the next line of the code to see what policy you're going to have. And it's going to say, okay, this is your authorization. And between the time it read that line and the next line, it lost communication with the TACAX server. I'm probably misinterpreting what you're saying there, but a thought experiment, yes. I do those all the time, often to my own detriment. That may be actually what they're doing here in the lab, though. What would happen if you tried to log in when the TACX was down? How would those policies be processed? Yes, we have yeah, I guess that's what we're talking about, Crisco, is the fallback authorization. Show run section AA. So TACX is down. I guess this is my way of thinking. It's probably totally off, but my thinking is by default, without setting the authorization, you have privilege level 15, right? But the authorization command here is modifying what would be that default level, and is saying you're going to have exec privileges if you authenticated the VTY list. Short of that, you're going to authenticate to the line settings, and the line settings I would assume are defaulting to privilege level 15. Heading out, need to spend some time with family. We're getting back to my studies later. Understand that, Mark Milo. Hope everyone's a great evening. Thank you again for streaming. You're very welcome. Thanks for your input, man. Have a great time with your family. Does it work if you take off that extra command? Yes, per command authorization, indeed. You can get super granular with AA. I mean, if you really don't like yourself as a human being, you could... does it work if you take off that extra command? You're talking about if authenticated? Let's see. Good call. Okay, so we have no connection. It's not going to authenticate me at all, I don't think, because remember we took the password off. Yeah, so it's looking for the password, but I think that would work whether we, even if we have this on here, right? I got one character in there that is just... So I'm going to put that back on. Well, I'm going to do if authenticated. Okay. So we're not authenticated at all. And we're not going to be able to connect. So it tries VTY. I guess that doesn't work. Let's debug AA authorization as well. And there's no line password. Okay, I may have this wrong. This is incorrect. Do show run section AA. So this is why I did no AAA authentication. Login VTY group. VTY group. And what I should do is A authentication VTY group TACX local. Yes, it should. You guys are right on track. It should fall back to local. Now the requirements are worded. It says, well, no, it gave me a hint. It says use the VTY line settings. This is sneaky, so we're going to call out any golem-like behavior here. It says use the VTY line settings to authorize any authenticated user if the TACX Plus server fails. So, I don't know. I call that golem, sneaky golem. Admin, Cisco. Okay, that worked. So we're configuring it on the line. Show privilege. Privilege level 15. Oh, that's sorry. Show authorization type is commands. Yeah, authorization successful. Okay, so now, yeah, let's see what happens if you take off if authenticated. Show run section AA. I mean, how could you not be authenticated? That I don't understand. So does that mean group TACAX or any other authentication method, maybe? Let's see. I don't see the difference. Yeah, I don't know what if authenticated gets us here, really. What does that even do? Of course they're going to be authenticated. How could we not be authenticated? Let's go to the Cisco docs. Yeah, but it's true. The local settings. Well, if there's no defined policies, otherwise, then if you authenticate, you're going to get privilege level 15, right? Unless configured otherwise. So if I don't authenticate against TACACS, I will authenticate against the local database. And I have an authorization policy, but that's just for TACACS. Right? That's the way I'm interpreting it. Log in with TACACS up. Yeah, I don't have one in this lab, unfortunately. All right, so let's look at the exam, or no, the command guides. Well, you need authorization for local 2. Cisco, I think I'm getting privilege level 15 here. So I have no authorization policy defined for, oh wait, I do. Hold on, show run. So privilege level 7 is what I should get. So I'm logging in as this user. Because of like, sorry, privilege level 15 on the line. Is it? I thought I took that out. I did not. Okay, good catch. No privilege level. Now let's see what we get. Start talking about, hey, no problem, man. I appreciate you hanging out. Admin, Cisco. Okay. We have basically privilege level 0. So let's put back in, yeah, it's a free user. Authentication type, service enable. It says privilege 15 here. Yeah, good point. ICE is IE level stuff, I would assume. It says enable privilege 15, but that's baloney. All right, let's put back if authenticated. Authorization type commands. That's what we had when we had privilege level 15. Show run section AA. All right, AAA authorization, exec. Succeed if user has authenticated. I'm sorry, but that just makes absolutely no sense to me. Yeah, no difference. Yeah, basically don't have enable privileges. Oh, by the way, the workbook does put privilege level 15 here. So the workbook does have it. Line V2I 015. Okay, yeah. You could add none at the end and make it work, and it would work. I just used to have an authentication server to verify TACAX, plus I've been doing network for a decade now, so ACS doesn't scare me. ACS is old. So local users only config, we would set authorization B2I none to get put at privilege 15. Yeah, end of life, end of support, as far as I know. Yeah, none would disable authorization, right? That's what I'm reading here. Okay, so they have an example here. Here's two scenarios. Okay, this might clear it up. Show run section AA. So it's saying do AA authentication, log in. Default? Why would they tell me default? I'm just not following the... Why would they tell me default? That's not even what we've been working on. AA authentication. Log in. E2Y. TACAX. Group TACAX. Then none. Then if we did AAA authorization. Right, I know I use default. What I'm wondering is why would they're going to now show me a different example and then they're going to change the line we're using? Why would the workbook do that unless it's just exec default none? Okay, so it's saying try this example. Okay, show interesting. Okay. Method list is not configured, so skip authorization. I didn't mean to do that. No, see, that's why. Why would they even ask me to do that? So authorization, exec, VTY, group, TACAX, and none. So it's either TACAX or none. Let's see how it handles that. Boom, I go right in. Oh, show privilege. Interesting. Oh, then take off the privilege level. Well, that's not the example they have here, right? So they have, what it's saying is, it's trying to show us a difference with none and if authenticated. So I'm trying to see what that difference is. So now it's saying, try this scenario, then try a authentication, login group, login, BTY group, TACAX, none, and then AAA authorization, exec, BTY, if authenticated. Okay, so what we've done is we've added this. It said none, now it says if authenticated. Let's see what happens. I still don't see the purpose in this right here. Yeah, in the first case, if TACAX Service Plus, the router will allow incoming remote connections without authentication. Because there is no exec authorization, user will be granted the exec shell with privilege 15. The second case, if TACAX server is not available, system grants access without authentication but fails authorization of exec shell. Thus, the difference between none and if authenticated authorization cases is that the former applies the desired authorization parameters without any verification. The latter requires the user to be authenticated, does not consult the user database to check authorization attributes. Makes absolutely no sense. Well, in the example, they in both these scenarios, they're saying leave privilege level 15 on there. So it might just be poor examples. Yeah, well, why does it say to leave them on there, though? I mean, when we take it off, we don't... We can try it and see if it makes a difference. No privilege 15. Is there any command that is privilege without level? Yeah, exactly. It does not make sense to me at all, Crisco. Yeah, so we've got nothing now. And I'll bet if we take that off, Makes no difference. It basically does nothing, apparently. So I'm going to read up on that. Maybe this is useful for, oh, we're going to look at the iOS command. AAA. Oh, this is under authorization, right? Are they not really going to tell me what it means here? Thank you. Allows user to access request function if the user is authenticated. I'm sure there's a use for it somewhere, but I have no idea. Like this is a terminating method, therefore if listed as a method, any methods listed after it will never be evaluated. Well, why would you add any methods after this if you know this is a terminating method? The user is allowed to access a requested function provided the user has been authenticated successfully. When would they be allowed to access the requested function if they had been authenticated unsuccessfully? Somebody's, yeah. Somebody spent a little bit too long on the pipe there, I think. I don't know. I'm sure I could be proven wrong. Well, I think it's sort of a cached function, so there's a timer on your authentication, at least in my experience. So from time to time, it will attempt to re-authenticate you. And if it's down then and you're unable to authenticate, then you're just locked out of the router. That's what if authenticated is for. But if the timer expires and it wants to re-authenticate you, like, and you cannot authenticate after that, then you're out. Oh, it does it for every command. Okay. Yeah, but you don't have to type in your credentials for every command. It's doing a lookup, right, on your authorization, but it's not credentialing you. In other words, authenticating you for every command, right? Again, what is the situation where you would not be authenticated? Right, it checks your privilege level each time for those commands, right? Because I could have changed it in the meantime. I could have gone to the TACAX server. I could have changed your privilege level. But when is there a scenario that the router is going to allow you to do anything if you have failed authentication? If TACAX goes down after you log in, how does it check? It doesn't. I think that's when you will. I'm assuming that would trigger a reauthentication. Like if it lost contact with the TACAX server on one particular command, and it realizes it has lost contact with the, then I'm assuming here that it's going to want to reauthenticate you after that. It's likely going to time out your authentication period because the authentication server is down, so it needs to reauthenticate you. Because it's got a timer in there somewhere, right? I've seen it where, depending on your, yeah, there's an exec timeout, and there's an exec timeout. I don't know, guys. Maybe you can figure it out for me. I don't know. Do I even want to know, to be honest? Well, exec timeout will force you to reauthenticate. Like, it doesn't terminate your session. So then with if authenticated, if it can't reach TACAX, well, no, what it's saying is you can only do this, you can only run this, you're only authorized to do this if you're authenticated. Otherwise, it will fail close. We'll see, I don't know, but from our use of the authentication function, I didn't see any difference in having that or not. This is good blog territory, it looks like. Folks, man, this has been great. You guys have been awesome in the chat. Thank you very much, because these are great questions that I don't know the answer to, but very thought-provoking questions. And yeah, it does speak to like I would like to see a chart on the state machine of AAA. Like, how does it, y'all know what I'm talking about. You've seen these for routing processes and things like that in convergence. What is the state machine of AAA and as it is processing these? That would be really cool to see, and that probably means that it doesn't exist yet. Exec authorization only happens at login, I thought. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, but there's a timer. And there are probably triggers as well, I'm thinking, Crisco. There are probably, besides a timer, there are probably other triggers. Let's say, for example, you have a loopback interface defined, like we do here, for TACAX authentication. Well, the router knows if that loopback interface goes down, or if it's a physical interface. That would likely be a trigger as well, I would think. Yeah, head scratcher, man. That's why I'm like this. But you guys are really a big help. Thank you very much for all your input, feedback, questions. That'll wrap it up for tonight. Thanks so much for hanging out, folks. Got to go to bed so I get up and do another workout tomorrow morning. Y'all are awesome. Good bits to everyone. Yeah, thank you, Raging Gosu. Good, great session. And maybe I need to, you know what? I may ping my, I have a security guy or ICE guy. I might pick his brain a little bit on this whole question. Thanks so much for hanging out. We shall see you all tomorrow night back here in the Land Tamer stream. Good bits to all.